Good morning. How can I help you?
I was just checking out these artifacts.
Here he is! Here he is! Michael B. Jordan. I love this guy.
These items aren't for sale.
How do you think your ancestors got these? You think they paid a fair price? Or did they take it like they took everything else?
Well, I will have you know, Mr. Killmonger, that there was an international policy which existed all the way up until World War II, which was called the right of conquest, which basically meant if you can take something by force, namely a land and treasure and possessions, and the people you're taking it from aren't in a position to take it back, it's all good. It's yours. And as barbaric as that sounds, that continued all the way up to World War II. And they only changed it after World War II because the borders in Europe had changed so much, like Germany had taken over so much, and like through this idea of a war of aggression came as if like the wars in the past weren't wars of aggression. But this idea of a war of aggression came up because they had to redraw the maps. So they said, by what moral standard are we going to redraw the maps? And because according to the old school international law of right of conquest, a lot of that still belonged to Germany, right? But they wanted to reset it back and a lot of the borders were still disputed. So they brought in a new law, which was territorial integrity, which basically froze the map all around the world that these are the borders. People go beyond that. That's now a war of aggression. You can't claim right of conquest anymore. Everyone's got territorial integrity for their areas. So areas that Britain conquered, such as Australia, were Britain's by right of conquest before World War II and were frozen as part of territorial integrity after World War II, which means that the British have very cleverly claimed all these lands both by might in the past and now by legal right. So see, the British know what they're doing. They're very good conquerors. So yeah, you could say they stole it, but they were crafty enough to write laws that allowed them to do so. Not saying it's right or not, just feel like giving a boring history lesson here. And it is relevant to the movie because Killmonger, later on when he gets power, has a very similar idea to what the British that he's now criticizing did, which goes along with what Black Panther says later on of, you have become them. But we'll get more into that when we get to it.
You got all this security in here watching me ever since I walked in, but you ain't checking for what you put in your body.
Why security would be freaked out by having a black man in an African exhibit is a little bit strange. I guess he does look kind of thuggish, but not really. I mean, he's wearing glasses for crying out loud. But whatever, okay. Now, this moment here of like you weren't checking for what you put in your body with the poisoned coffee, it's very obvious with what they showed later on that his girlfriend is working at the counter and she's the one who poisoned the coffee. I completely missed that when I first saw the movie and I wrote that down. I was like, the hell happened there? Like, how did he know she was going to have an upset stomach from this coffee? I completely missed that. In fact, I completely missed a lot of the stuff that has to do with Killmonger's girlfriend in this. But considering what happens to her, it's okay. We can forget about her.
I'm gonna take a break.
There she is. That's her. That's the, and I don't know whether she's actually British or whether she's just putting on that accent to work there. But there's obviously some past history between her and Killmonger.
You can go, but just don't tell anyone, all right?
I really do like this Ulysses Claw guy. Like, he's just having so much fun doing it. And I like the way he winks to the guard right before he's like, you can go, just don't tell anyone. And he winks. It's great. I love it. He's having such a great time being the villain. But there's also method to his madness.
Bro, why you ain't just shoot him right here?
Because it's better to leave the crime scene more spread out. Makes us look like amateurs.
Well, except that you had the forethought to poison that woman's coffee. I mean, that would kind of suggest that you're not amateurs, but yeah, whatever. And that you also had the technical know-how to loop the camera footage so that nobody could see you killing all those guards. It's... Nice touch there that beam on his claw hand could shatter the glass. Then when he tries to use it to shatter the vibranium, it doesn't shatter it. Like, that's how he tests it to make sure it actually is vibranium. A clever little moment there. Oh, the little Bonnie and Clyde team. How adorable. Sure, it's gonna have a happy ending. You know, we should really have more dancing in Western culture. You know, we don't have enough. Like, the only excuse we get to, like, dance around like that is, like, at football games and only if our guys win. Then we're like, yeah! And you can jump up and down. You know, it's like, if we really need to, like, create more reason for that. You know, nightclubs are not enough. You know, we need more. Now, that is a public health and safety nightmare. That is an accident just waiting to happen. So many CGI people standing on the cliffs. Look how close they are to the edge. Come on. I mean, couldn't you build some kind of, like, stadium type seating along there? So that, like, maybe a safety rail? It's irresponsible, T'Challa. It really is. Also, you know, later on they mention that when Killmonger wants to fight him in a challenge, they say, it'll take weeks to get the whole nation there. And then Killmonger's like, I don't need the whole nation to be there. Is this the whole nation? I mean, it looks like it's just sort of like the heads of each tribe are there. Are they televising it? Does it go out throughout Wakanda? Is it like a Super Bowl thing where everyone gets to watch the fight? I mean, it should be. That'd be great. I mean, in any culture, whenever they crown a new king or a new queen or whatever, it's televised everywhere, like the royal wedding. Like, but I mean, this is like better than a royal wedding. You get to see people beat each other's heads in. It's like the best of two worlds. It's like, yeah, it totally should be televised. That's all I'm saying. Zuri. I love that name. It always bothers me how this dude, his evil friend, he's always doing the crossed arms under the cloak. So it looks like he's just going, you can't see the crossed arms. It just looks weird to me. I was like, I mean, if I was a director, I'd be like, just bring your arms out from under the cloak. It just looks weird.
The merchant tribe will not challenge today.
The border tribe will not challenge today.
I like how each of the tribes has like a slightly different design. These guys have the more sort of Arabic desert kind of look to them, and the border tribe here. I think it's appropriate that they're the border tribe and that his friend here wants to keep the border strong, because there you go. And you also get to see like the champion for each of the tribes. And you know, it's interesting because his friend here, Mr. Get Out, he could have challenged him right here for leadership. He complains later on that he's not a very good leader. He could have challenged here. Maybe he knows his fighting skills aren't up to par just yet. But I wouldn't mind betting that if Killmonger didn't show up, this guy was probably training a lot in secret and then would have taken a shot later on. Because, you know, he's got his own vendettas he wants to solve.
The River Tribe will not challenge today.
The River Tribe! And look who their champion is. T'Challa's girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend. See, now it makes sense why she doesn't want to date him. Because she wants to win through combat. So she still wants access to the throne, but she wants to do it herself. She just doesn't want to have him. T'Challa, are you sure you want to trust this woman? She is your competition. She could overthrow you and take everything that you have. And you're following her around like a lovesick puppy dog. Yeah, she's your competition. You know, you might have to kill her one day in one of these challenges. You don't make friends with someone you might have to kill later on. Just saying.
Martha! Martha!
This guy is probably my favorite character in this whole movie. I love he has that entrance where it's really intense and you're like, what kind of snarling monster is this under the mask? And he takes it off and he's just like, yeah, it's me. It's also kind of bad form for Zuri that like he asks for challenges. He doesn't even bother to mention the Jabari up in the mountain. I guess they just don't bother to show up all that often, so he just doesn't mention it. But yeah, I like this guy. And this guy, because after the events of Avengers Infinity War, since Black Panther got dusted, I assume he is running the nation now, because he survives getting dusted, so I assume he's going to be the king of Wakanda from Infinity War to the next Black Panther movie. Do you reckon he and Black Panther are going to have a rematch when that happens? And, you know, Black Panther's going to have to fight him for the throne again? It's going to be interesting. But I'd imagine Black Panther would win if they do fight, but I really like him. I like this guy. I think he'd be a good king.
M'Baku, what are you doing here?
Oh, God, I hate it when they say that in movies. What are you doing here when it's so obvious what he's doing here? You know what he's doing here. It's challenge day. He's here to challenge you, idiot. You're the one who just called it out.
It's challenge day.
So look at his face. He's like, yeah, exactly. That's why I like this guy.
We have watched with disgust as your technological advancements have been overseen by a child who scoffs at tradition. And now you want to hand the nation over to this prince who could not keep his own father. Safe.
Okay, so this is kind of like a little bit of an election debate, but with punching. And I think we can all agree that'd make election debates much more interesting if there was punching. But he brings up some valid points. He's like, okay, your sister is overseeing the technological advancements and she doesn't care about traditions, which could drastically change the fabric of Wakanda, because traditions, they're important. They stitch a society together. And once you erode that, you have to ask what actually holds the society together. And if you don't have something, you kind of end up in some of the situations that a lot of Western countries are right now. So he's worried about the direction that T'Challa is going to take the nation, of whether he's going to allow that culture to remain the same or to be torn apart. All legitimate concerns. And it is also true that T'Challa could not keep his own father safe, but he did avenge his father, so... But as we'll see, like Black Panther, as the honest trailers brought up, he's not particularly good at the comebacks, and it's kind of refreshing to finally see a Marvel hero who isn't good at comebacks and quipping, so that's okay. So rather than make any of these points, T'Challa's just like, yeah, let's fight.
I accept your challenge, M'Baku.
Glory to Hanuman.
Who is Hanuman again? Is that the Black Panther god that they mentioned at the start of it? So is that like the Wakanda religion around here, where they worship the Black Panther god? Would make a lot of sense. I wonder if we'll get more of that in the sequel.
Let the challenge begin!
Okay, now I'm sure I'm going to get a copyright strike for this section, no doubt. But this is a really good fight. I always like these fights where it shows contrasting styles. And we've got M'Baku, who fights like a big gorilla, fittingly. And he's just ground and pound, just brute strength, smashing him up. And Black Panther, he's kind of got more of like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu style, which is appropriate because you use Brazilian jiu-jitsu against someone much bigger and stronger than you. It's a way you use joint locks and leverage. Like leverage can overcome strength, and timing can beat speed, and it's really cool. I like this fight. We see his Mr. Get Out. He's actually kind of cheering. Well, not cheering. He kind of nods when Black Panther gets a spin kick takedown on M'Baku. So he's, at least at this point in the movie, he's still on board with T'Challa. So he has a lot of hope that he's going to be a good king. Probably why he didn't challenge. But he's a very fickle friend, as we'll see. He changes his view pretty quickly. Ooh, nice big takedown there. You know what would have been good if, like, when he swings his club, it actually broke apart Black Panther's shield. I'd love that, because that's a lot of force being swung in that stick. I mean, he's a big, strong guy already, and he swings that with enough force. Like the amount of rotational force swinging at the end of that big old club, it probably would smash apart that shield. Those shields don't look too well put together, unless they've got vibranium in them, because apparently everything has vibranium in it. But wouldn't that be cheating if Black Panther has a vibranium shield and his opponent doesn't? So yeah, it's unlikely.